This one is with all of these horrible events that have been happening lately, the extreme wildfires, hurricanes, bridge collapse, now we've got volcanoes rumbling. Is there any evidence that any of this is like a shot across the bow or warning shots to people in government who are, investigating these man-made technologies that are so closely guarded that, hey, don't come too close, stop asking questions, because we can just wreak utter destruction?
Well, we know they have that capability for sure. Whether those specific events are related to that or not, I don't know. I know that back years ago, early 2000s, I look up the date, there was a massive subduction earthquake and tsunami that killed 250,000 people in Indonesia and all that area. I may have been 2004, somewhere around there. And I had a man who was on a contract vessel for the National Security Agency and a covert government operation that went down there, and they basically detonated a type of a directional energy weapon over that subduction zone to see if it would trigger it. And this man very legit said that's what they did. We know that Eric Hecker, who was a Raytheon gentleman who was at our National Press Club event in June of 2023, he was at the South Pole where the Raytheon had a mile under the ice this big neutrino light array. And it's not just sensing passively, it's an active warfare system that when they switched that on, it caused, he is pretty sure they felt, all the massive earthquakes in Christchurch in New Zealand that were so devastating. So we have our Colonel Heckert, back when they were, before they had those electromagnetic weapons, he knew of the fact that they had what they called nuclear torpedoes that had been placed on the earthquake faults in various places around the world that could be detonated and then trigger a massive earthquake and a subsequent tsunami to wipe out the coastlines. He knew specifically about that, knows specifically about it. So, this is why I tell people all the 5 alarm fires that people think are important with Ukraine and Israel, Taiwan, China, they're important, but this organization that have these capabilities, if they are not put on a leash and those capabilities taken out of their hands, it's a much bigger threat to the United States, but also to the earth than anything that the National Security Council is looking at right now. So this is why, and I've known this since the 90s. The other data point is one of the operators at this black site, a couple of the black sites out west, who came under cover to that conference in June of 2024. He pulled me aside one evening and we had a meeting in the green room where I was. And he said, I was read into an operation that we had used these technologies to grab an asteroid and move it in the direction like it's coming from the sun. And so that it would not hit the earth, that it would skim low over the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans to cause massive tsunamis wiping out all the coastlines. And that was in going on. It was coming in. And the ETs, he said, moved in and took it out and protected us. So interesting, I almost feel like I'm like a one-man anti-defamation league for the ETs, but they have saved our bacon more ways than people realize. And this man knows this. He knows this for a fact. Now, he didn't know I knew this. I said, oh, yeah, I was read into this years ago by someone who was operational with those technologies. So you have a bunch of psychopaths and sociopaths who have these technologies who want to create panic, fear, maybe population decrease, but also want to create the ability to set up a series of events, both what are fake alien, but these man-made induced natural things, so that they could seize control through a sort of a global martial law state and military state. That has always been the plan of these guys. These guys are power hungry, sociopaths, but they have technologies that I'm quite sure if the president and people in Congress knew what they had and what they've done already and what they plan to do, everything else would look like a skirmish, and they would focus on this. But I'm not trying to scare people. I just am telling you what I know to be a fact from multiple data points.
So we're nearing the end of the questions here. We got 2 left. So you have talked extensively on this show and also